What do you think women in this generation could do better to meet in the middle?
I mean, I think we're perfect, so.
Welcome, everybody. This is the episode 2 of Let's Meet in the Middle, where we talk about everything masculinity related. And in today's world, everything's so polarizing. And we wanted to just have a conversation with lovely ladies and very eloquent and intelligent with all their perspective and all that stuff. My name is Tony Shriller, and I'm a comedian. And this is my buddy Andy Chung.
Hey, I'm Andy. I'm in tech. And that's it.
Nice. Cool.
I'm not as cool as a comedian.
There you go. So let's, it's just as cool, man. So let's introduce the ladies real quick.
Hi, I'm Viena Hayden. I have a digital marketing agency, so I help people build their businesses.
And I'm Jessica Lee. I've been in marketing and advertising for over 6 years, and I also teach pole.
So I guess I've been hearing this term being thrown around a lot. They're kind of one and the same as emotional intelligence and emotionally unavailable. Like, I don't know how many girls I've talked to and be like, I just wish guys in my age range were more emotionally available. And I guess everyone has a different version of what emotionally available is. So what's your take on, I would love to get both of your takes on emotionally available man.
I've been divorced twice, so like I'm clearly a hot mess in relationships. But so were the other guys that I left, because there's a reason I left. And I would say that whole emotionally unavailable thing is definitely a broad stroke of a term, but it has a lot to do with I was dismissed so much. So I get accused of being overly sensitive, I'm over emotional, and yeah, okay, I am definitely those things. I own that. But I want to be seen and heard. And I think most women want to be seen and heard. And when you are dismissed constantly, I call it the carrot shaving effect. If you're peeling a carrot and you just keep peeling, eventually there's no more carrot left to peel. And you're left with nothing. And women don't just leave relationships because they get tired of one little thing. We get dismissed enough over time and we become emotionally exhausted to the point where we feel as though we haven't been seen, we haven't been heard, the listening, the communication hasn't happened in a good way, and we finally get fed up. And when we're done, we walk away.
Yeah, you feel like you haven't been listened to, probably heard, but just this way out.
Right. And we haven't truly been heard. And I mean, like, I've done so much therapy now with my mom and my ex-husband and everything. And the one thing that I've noticed in therapy that is such a simple, great technique, and we do this in acting class of all things, which is fantastic as well, it's learning to listen to the other person. It's not just the words coming out of your mouth. If I'm going to look at you, Tony, right now, like, you're very engaged, your body language, the way that you're sitting, the way that you're looking at me, you're attentive. I can tell what you're going to say almost before you even say it. And that's something we do in an acting class. But that's basic communication, you know? You too, Andy. Like, you're engaged right now. If you were kind of slumped back and just looking off into space, I could already tell you're not listening to me. What the hell am I even talking in the first place for?
Okay.
So having that level of communication and just being really in tune with one another, but then actually caring, even if it's something that you think is stupid, but showing that you care because you care about this person, and so that thing should matter as well.
Gotcha.
And I think that's where one of these big gaps happens.
Yeah, so that's what to you what an emotionally available man is. What about
Jessica?
What emotionally available man is?
Or what if someone is available or unavailable? What's your take on that?
I think unavailable is the incapacity to be able to have these like emotional conversations. I feel like when you talk to a lot of men about emotional topics, they just shut down. They just go through one ear and out the other. And once you start crying, getting hysterical, like, oh, here you go, you're being crazy again. And from experience, and
The dismissing.
Completely dismissive, and they just fail to listen to you and what you're hearing. And you may tell them a million times, like, this is what's upsetting me, and then they finally hear it like the millionth time, but by that time you're just done and over with it. And they're just not able to just tap in. I don't know if it's like a defense mechanism, I don't know what it is, and maybe just like we were talking about earlier, not being able to like be in tune with it.
But I'd love to hear your guys' take too, because this is where the conversation gets interesting. Like, you've dealt with us emotionally crazy.
This is the meat of the conversation.
So
bring on the barbecue.
Do you want to, or you want me to?
Well, so we kind of touched on this last time, but I think as soon as the word emotion, like that's the key word, emotion comes out, guys are thinking, well, shit, I got to be vulnerable now. And like we were taught at such a young age, or at least I was, right? That, and not even like explicitly, just like through watching, like my father or other like male figures in my life, that we should kind of be like, don't show too much emotion, be a little more stoic, be calm and collected, right? And that's well, most of my friends went on with, I guess, how they behaved and I guess acted. And that's kind of what my take was, which I know probably not the healthiest way to go about it.
Yeah. So it sounds to me, that sounds like it's your reaction to whatever emotional up and down.
Right. You should always be on a level.
You should always
try
be on a
not
level,
to have
right?
your, like, their highs and lows, which is
Yeah.
no one's going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think it's interesting because I was talking about earlier, from my perspective, there's a couple things I really want to like pick out, right? Number one, I take pride in the fact that I am less, I guess, stereotypical men in a way that like I'm definitely very much in tune with my emotions and a very expressive person. But I do my best to sort of level that, right? Like I think there's a difference between recognizing there's an emotion versus like being sort of driven by it, right? Recognizing, I'm feeling like anger, sad, whatever. Right? It's okay, right? It's okay. Like if I'm watching like freaking Game of Thrones, if I see Hodor's scene, like, and I'm not crying, like I'm
we
I'm
all
messed
balled
up.
out. We all balled
like
out
we
on
all,
that.
yeah, exactly. To me, a toxic masculinity trait would be like, no, that's some fucking man shit. I'm not gonna freaking cry.
Right.
Like,
I just got
let it
sand in
out.
my eye.
Let it out, dude. Like, like there's nothing wrong with that, right? And to me, that's one part when it comes to being like emotionally attached and available. Now, when it comes to the relationship, this is where it comes interesting, right? And we're talking about this. There is that sort of extreme end of like, it's almost a little bit, I don't know, it's not really simping, but somehow from my personal experience, when I was back in just dating phase, women are typically more attracted to men that are less caring. It's
so they like
a
the assholes.
subconscious
They like
thing.
the
They like
assholes.
assholes.
They like
Right?
the assholes.
See, when
there
you're
is
too
an
fucking
argument for
nice,
that.
when you're a nice guy, nobody gives a shit about you. But when you're not a nice guy, they want you.
And that's such
then,
a
but then when
weird-
you're in a relationship, they want you to go the other way, right? That's my
It's
personal.
fun versus responsible. That's
Yeah.
pretty much when they're just young. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't speak for you guys, but like,
So that's from our male perspective, right? Literally, like I mean, growing up, when I was
you want what you can't
in the-
have.
The chase.
it's right. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because like reflecting on all the unhealthy relationship and like sort of my personal challenges when it comes to dating, every time when there is this sense of like, oh wow, like this woman, like I'm putting her on a pedestal,
Oh,
like there's
I
this
see.
constant need of like, oh, I need to do everything possible to to have this relationship, whatever. Like it becomes so unhealthy, and then I'm constantly being that, I guess, like available state of like everything, right? Like
Yeah,
anything
like-
you want, I'm always just
like
I'm
they
just
hit
there for
you
you,
up at
right?
1 o'clock. It's like, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
get you this.
exactly.
I'll get you
It's
that.
interesting you
They
bring
don't give a
that
shit.
up too, because
They're just manipulating and using you at that point,
and then it becomes like you're being used without knowing that
and you're
at
happy
a
about
deeper
it.
yeah,
level,
and you're happy about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
at a deeper level, do you think that it's because I thought about this? I mean,
Yeah.
you're not the first person I've heard say that. I've experienced it myself. I think we've all experienced it to a certain level on both sides of the coin. Like, oh my God, this guy's desperate. Ugh, get away.
Yeah.
Versus, God, I really want this guy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want me. So I think that it's like that's that subconscious part that I was talking about, where we put out a certain energy that we're
Yeah.
not even aware of. When you want so badly, it almost repels.
Yeah.
Versus the not wanting and just learning to be okay with what is in that moment. You attract.
I think
Yeah.
when I was younger in my 20s, like I was that way, but then now I'm in my mid 30s. I'm like, like it actually is impressive to me when a guy actually shows emotion. I'm like, oh, like you can be vulnerable and like have a conversation.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about uncomfortable subjects without you just like completely stonewalling me and just
Yeah.
being like, F you, like I don't care what you have to say, and just pretending like he cares. So
Yeah.
I think as just you mature and you finally realize like, oh, maybe that's not the route I should always go. That's not going to lead me anywhere. You kind of just finally start realizing it. So
Isn't it funny though? Like age plays such a difference
Yeah.
too.
I've
right?
always
Like,
liked older dudes for that
like,
reason.
she's
Yeah.
young.
I mean, it's just evolution when it comes to like, like at one point, it's almost like there's always a cutoff where like the ladies just like this phase, like I'm gonna go for all the assholes.
Well, you don't even realize it, though.
It's just because
it
what you're
just
looking
happens.
for in your like this phase of life, right? Because who's looking to get serious and locked down at like a young 20-something?
I
lot of
was.
people.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
people
what
do.
that's what I thought in my 20s.
In this generation, like in this generation, like the 20-somethings, they don't want fucking anything
Well, they're
serious.
trying to
They're
figure
just
out
like,
what gender they are.
well, no, they're dealing with that. They're dealing with like,
They've got a lot more problems to worry about.
and like,
figure
what
out
is
what
that?
gender
Like
they
everyone's just more into like the hookup culture right these days, right? It's kind of ridiculous.
I don't even know about that because nowadays people are talking about like people are just not having sex.
Well, so it's like
I've
two
heard about that.
two
Yeah.
two
That's
sides of the
crazy.
coin. Like either you're just involved in the hookup culture, or you're just like dramatic opposites. Like you know what? I just give up on this dating scene, and I'm just gonna.
I mean, look, even if you're
be-
confused about your gender, if you're taking estrogen or testosterone, let's go back to the hormones here. That's the I'm horny hormones, okay? How do they not want to?
We were talking about
Emotionally
Dating.
available.
emotional availability. You were
So-
talking about. Go ahead.
No, I actually want to ask. So now, yeah. So there's one side of the coin. Guys are just kind of shut off. That what you said stonewalled you. They were dismissive whenever something emotional comes up. But on the other side of the coin, how much is like too much emotion for a guy to show? Right? Like, do you want him to come home and just start venting suddenly? Be like, oh, I had the worst day at work.
I just
My
want him to
best
be
friend-"
genuine and true to himself. And either that's somebody that works for you and that you get along with, or it's not. Your energies either match or they just don't, you know?
Or if he did have a bad day, he can at least feel safe enough to come home, but like not every single day. Like I think everyone would get annoyed if their partner came home.
What
every
if it
single day.
was every
Like,
single day?
I wouldn't be with them.
Okay, see, thanks.
Why
So
not?
there
But that's
is a
emotionally
limit now.
in touch,
There is a
though.
limit now. Okay,
I
we
think
gotta find
no.
what that limit is.
Seems like there'd be a deeper issue though
Yeah.
if they're coming home every day like depressed and complaining
Yeah.
and something else deeper within themselves is going on. And it's,
But I find often like, all right, all things aside, guys and women, if they both complain like the equal amount, the guy will get more shit on than the woman because it's almost expected the guy doesn't have to feel like the guy shouldn't be
because
feeling
we
this way.
women go
And-
cackle with each other at lunch.
Yeah.
Like guys, like even like we were talking about this earlier, like guys, we don't really even vent to each other often. Tony, when was the last time a male friend of yours asked like, "Hey, how you feeling, man? Everything all right with you?"
No, very little. Yeah. I mean, like, even when they do, typically it would require somebody that is close enough to me to talk more about, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is that might be going on. But most of the time, most men, we don't. Yeah. No,
Do you guys wish your friends asked you more?
Sometimes,
like,
I mean, not all the
Yeah.
time, obviously,
Right.
but like as I was saying, guys, we kind of bond more over camaraderie. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, women bond more over trust, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of how guys and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm like, not into like sports and shit. I'm just like, yeah, sports, yeah, go my team, fuck your team.
Throw
you
that
know?
like,
ball,
oh,
throw that
sports
ball.
Yeah, throw that ball, yeah, get the points. I'm more into like experiences, right? And that's
Yeah.
with the quote unquote feminine shit.
No,
like I
yeah, I
love
get it.
shows, musicals.
I love shows and
I
musicals,
love
yeah.
going travel. And for some guys, like they were like, bruh, and I'm like, bruh, what?
Yeah, it's like I forget who I was talking to. It's like, hey man, do you want to go to this one show? It's all like his response, Raven, is like, are there gonna be hot girls there? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, guy, come on.
Only
man.
one
Like,
way to
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Only one way to
I
see.
guarantee you, even if they were, they're not there for you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like that's how like some guys, and not everybody is willing to, and it comes down to going back to the family stuff, right? Maybe sometimes it's just like their dad never did that to them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And I
dads
think that's
usually
where it
don't
comes-
ask their sons
Yeah,
like, "How are you feeling?"
Yeah.
Just get over it.
Yeah.
Versus the mom, like we're the ones. But
Yeah.
I really, and again, like I don't have sons. I grew up in a family of 6 girls and 1 gay boy, so like he's more feminine than half of us, but so I don't really know the conversations that happen with mothers and sons outside
Yeah.
of just talking to like my guy friends, my partner, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But typically you don't ask your son like, how are you feeling? Let's work through your feelings. I do that with my daughters.
Yeah.
And I really have to ask myself the question, like, I would like to think if I had 2 sons instead that I would help them work through their feelings and teach them that feeling emotion is okay. It's how you navigate through those things. And they like, okay, you took possession of that thought or that emotion, feel it out, let it go. I still have to work on that, but teaching my kids how to do that in a good way, whether they're male, female, or otherwise, like I think that's a very valuable thing that it sounds like you guys didn't even get to experience that as much.
I think in general, people, every single one of us want to feel valued. It's whether or not you express it, right? I think the society is more okay with women in general, seeking for help, seeking for validation.
It's accepted.
It's more accepted.
Right. I mean, when's the last time you
versus
saw...
men is, and this is actually something you just reminded me of. Like, for me, I don't know why. This might be a little toxic in me. It's like when I see like girls doing these like TikTok or Reel challenges, right? Of like them doing, like the like filming themselves in a mirror, right? To me, I'm like, oh, that's cool, whatever. I think that's good for you, right? But when I see guys do that, just
Or like when
something
guys
in
take
me,
a selfie, I'm
something
just
the
like,
selfie
ew.
mirror, something in me. I'm just like, I mean, good for you, but it's like, bro, like, I don't know, something about
What's
it,
the self... Like,
like
clue me in
they're
here. Like, what are
filming
they
themselves
doing?
in the mirror, and then typically like very like like in the mirror. Like to me, maybe that might be a little toxic in me. I don't know. Like for me, I'm just like, bro, like I would rather see that from like a third person perspective versus like you like filming yourself in in the mirror.
I think I just don't like it,
Something
period, but
specifically in the
maybe I'm
mirror.
just
I don't
toxic
know.
on both sides.
This is coming from some guy who I'm constantly making stupid ass Instagram videos, but I'm just saying there's something about like filming yourself in the mirror and checking out yourself. There's something about that framing. I'm just like,
Okay.
But you have clever stuff with your social media
Oh,
content.
thank you.
Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna film yourself in the mirror, do something clever, entertain
exactly.
me.
Yeah. And
Otherwise-
something about
That's just toxic. I don't care what gender you are.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just something we were talking about, like being.
I like the stipend of like the emotions with men. Like it follows them like ever since they're kids. Like they get thrown in like football, baseball, whatever, and then like when they fall or hurt themselves, like they're always
Rub
like,
some
oh no,
dirt
you're
on
fine,
it.
you're
Rub some
fine, just
dirt
brush it
on it,
off, you're okay.
yeah.
And the kid's like, oh my god, no, I'm not. And the parents usually like, no, you're okay. But with a girl, hurts herself and falls, like, oh baby, sweetheart, what's
Not
wrong? Are you
me.
okay? Are you
Get up.
feeling?
Yeah.
Da-da-da. Like either way, like usually I feel like boys are taught to be like, oh no, suck it up, you're fine, just go out there again.
Yeah.
And girls like more coddled. So
That ties in kind of with our earlier conversation about like the Barbies and the trucks, right? Like it's
Yeah.
all just how we treat our children, not with just the toys, but like what sports and activities
and when they go to
choose get
school
in.
and they want to play with Barbies, maybe like, oh, maybe that's interesting. I want to go see. And then the other boys be like, oh my God, no, like only girls do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're this.
Maybe
and
he's
you're
a
that.
boating fashion designer. And
Yeah.
you just don't
Yeah.
know it.
You're
so
gonna be
let
wearing
him
these
do
clothes
his
in like
thing.
20 years. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and exactly, right? I mean, it's so funny that like when people see men in like a non-traditional male role, like a fashion designer or whatever, immediately they assume they're gay. I'm like, dude, just because they do that shit doesn't mean they're gay.
Well, it goes opposite,
It just means
too.
they well, same thing, right?
Like
or
a woman
in
as
the-
a surgeon or
Or surgeon,
in
yeah,
construction
exactly.
or whatever,
Okay.
all of a sudden she's a cunt. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, that's it.
That didn't enter
Just 'cause
my
she's
mind
holding a
at all.
Did you just compare gay?
Not my first thought, but
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I think they
clip
probably
that, clip it.
if they're a cunt, they're probably being a cunt who happens to be a surgeon.
Don't
Same
piss her
thing
off
with
if
being
she
a
got a knife.
douchebag. Nice. We're already at the C word. Dang.
Yeah,
I
we're
went
gonna,
there. See, I
good.
told you
No,
I would
that's
not
good.
be
Well,
Well, it's
eloquent.
only episode 2. We had a nice run.
Yeah.
It was nice working with you.
No, we are. I mean, that's the whole point. Like for us here, like everybody. This is America, man. We're gonna
Brits use
express
that
what
word
we want.
casually.
Yeah.
Why do we find it so offensive?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
really.
find it funny actually. That's
Yeah.
why it's the
I
favorite
think it's
word. I just
hilarious
don't
when
use
Ricky
it
Gervais
often.
says it. I'm like, yeah.
Well, the C word, and then even like the word gay, it's like not as.
Oh,
what was
yeah,
it?
that's-
Oh, we're
what
not
was the
supposed
other
to say
one? The
that
R
now?
word, huh? Well, yeah, people don't, don't.
Yeah, it's like I use it all the time, but I was
Can't
forced
keep
to
track
stop
of what we're
it.
supposed to say and not say.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we joke around all the time,
Yeah.
like I was opening the door for him, earlier. I was like, see, it's modern masculinity now, I do this for the gentleman too. And then we were just like, yeah, some gay shit, like,
I just called him.
gay.
How about kind? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just being kind. There's an
yeah.
idea.
common
Yeah.
courtely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Kindness.
was, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going off of you. Actually, I lost my track of thought here with this whole like gay talk.
Yeah. You got too in touch
Well,
with
talking
your
about gay,
emotions.
I think it's interesting because I think masculinity has obviously formed over the decades and decades because like back in Greek mythology, like men were like, togas and like dresses and it's normal and like homosexuality was a complete normal thing. And then now we're like in America and it's like, everything is gay. And
Yeah.
if a guy wore a dress or a skirt, like Lil Nas X, didn't he wear like a dress or a skirt or something? Like some
I think, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
God.
Well, it goes even further than that. I mean, let's just talk about the sexuality. Back in those days when the men were wearing togas, everybody banged everybody.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
Like men did men and women did men. It's just like a giant. I mean, what was that series? Spartacus.
Oh,
like
God,
10,
yeah,
15 years ago.
Spartacus. Yeah.
I mean, they did a really nice job depicting what it was actually like. Just everyone's banging everyone in these orgies, and then men go fight and women go breed children and make food.
Yeah, they were casual about it. And while talking about the Greek mythology or Greeks, I was reading just not long ago, but like, you know, Hercules, right? No, is it Hercules?
Zeus?
Not Hercules. Who is it? Achilles. Achilles.
Yeah.
Achilles. He's like, you know, the probably like the masculine of all masculine warrior,
Yeah.
and like only has that one little
The Achilles
heel as weakness. But like most likely, people are studying him. Most likely, he was gay.
Yeah.
Like he was a gay man.
Very
You know,
possibly.
that's in the movie Troy. That his like cousin, whatever. But it was like in the actual potential like history or whatever. It was his partner, right? But like they would like American culture would never depict that, you know, like imagine being like whatever imagine John Wick or whatever as a gay man. You know, for me, it was like, I mean,
know,
cool,
it's
man.
cool.
Like, you know,
Even guys,
Somebody
like,
likes
other
dudes,
guys that hug you, I was like, yeah, man. Like, you just like do the weird like tap on the back. You're like, okay,
It was
cool.
like bringing in like the dap.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
well, like, you don't really
all
have
your
a-
handshakes.
well, they're talking about kind of like combining that sexuality and like masculinity, right? Like, do you think gay men can be masculine? I think so.
Oh, God,
You know,
yeah. Oh,
I
fuck
think
yeah.
so, right? I think gay men could be like the
There's a
most
ton of
masculine
masculine
men
gay men.
who happen
like
to
you
have
wouldn't
a
even
sexual-
know. You don't even know, right? Until
Yeah.
they actually
Yeah.
told you, and I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. All
And
right.
then you got
Anyway,
the other ones that are so effeminate that I'm like, wow, you got me beat, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the interesting part about like masculinity is like it's such a abstract and it's like a person by person basis, I guess term.
well, I
in a
think
way, right?
it's when you gotta separate masculinity from sexuality,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sexual preference and
Yeah. Sexual
all that. What I'm
preference.
talking about.
Well, there's like a lot of lesbians. Like you get the butch one that
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
very
talking about,
masculine,
right?
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
they take on more of
Like
that
the
male role.
studs.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, you're right. I don't think that it's necessarily attached to
Right.
a
Yeah.
gender per se.
And so
It's
many
just
people love to just
the
kind
energy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
We all have that
most-
masculine and feminine energy.
But most people think if you're doing anything remotely less feminine, they immediately connect that to your sexual orientation.
of, right?
You know, that's what I mean, right? That to me, that's like a
It's just
toxic
easier
thing.
to think that way. I think that's
Yeah,
why.
I guess you know.
It's lazy.
Yeah, just lazy. Yeah, just being lazy, man.
Well, and it's a very limited perspective when you see things only in like a very black and white manner
Yeah.
versus realizing that we are so many shades in between, and
Yeah.
you know, there's not like any one which way to be. That kind of goes along
A
with
lot
like,
of
these
people don't want to even
expectations.
have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it makes
like
them
you s-
uncomfortable.
It
and
makes
I
them
don't know why.
uncomfortable.
Like Tony, you're very to me. You've always been very masculine, and I think it's interesting that you're saying today about how you have more of these effeminate qualities, that you like this creative stuff and going and seeing shows. And I would never think, oh, you're not masculine because you like those things.
Yeah.
You still come off. You have a very strong masculine energy, and I think that's more in just the power that you exude versus the things that you like.
Yeah.
I would if you came to me and you're like, I'm a ballerina and I like going and seeing the opera, and you are looking the way you do and presenting the way you do, I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. Me too. Let's go hang.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, I think it's just kind of like you've heard of like the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's a great book, by the way. Everyone should read that.
Yeah, and also "Ego is Your Enemy" by Ryan Holidays. But yeah, I personally believe that the most masculine thing anybody can do, man, female, is just embracing whoever the fuck you are. Specifically for men, I guess, like actually embracing whoever you are. I think that's the most masculine thing.
I mean, why is that just
You can't
masculine? Why
do.
can't just be like having a
I guess
power
it
in
is feminine
yourself,
too,
right? Like,
power to self. Yeah, I guess that is a feminine.
like
It's just
women
human.
should
Yeah.
be comfortable with who they are and just
Well, yeah,
embracing who they are
exactly,
too.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily masculine.
That's true. That's true. But I guess for me as a man, I don't know. Yeah, that's a
No, it's a very
because you were just
beautiful
talking
quality.
about, right? Like
It's a
you're-
beautiful quality for
As a
every
person.
one of you
yeah,
guys.
as a person. Yeah,
You can really truly look in and love who you are and accept you for you. Like
Yeah.
And that's-
I always say, if you can look in the mirror on your worst day and go, yeah, I'm a badass bitch.
Yeah.
I didn't use that term exactly, but I just said something like that in the mirror. I just say you're a badass bitch. I'm like,
Yeah, you a badass bitch.
Whatever you want to call
that's
yourself.
exactly how I say every morning to myself. No.
Yeah. So what was the? Should we? Do we want to like talk about some of the topics that we had before?
So I kind of want to
Yeah.
go full circle here, right? So we talked about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
What are some? All right. You said, Jessica, you mentioned protection provider, a protector provider, right? Which is what we've been going on for the past, I don't know, century, maybe? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But it's been a long ass time. And I think with the rise of feminism, women have been able to reshape what a feminist role should be, right? Which is great. But I think men have just kind of held on to the roots of like protector provider, right? So my question would be, does protector and provider cut it anymore, or do you need more?
I think when I think of protector and provider, I think of like women face a lot more danger in this world than men do. And so I think of like when I walk home to my apartment late at night, like it would be nice to have like a man with me so I don't feel so scared. Like I don't mean like providing, you don't have to be like the most like, wealthiest guy, but I mean just like provide like a safe haven for myself. Like for me personally, if I'm in a relationship, or just provide some kind of like safety net so I don't have to always feel so vulnerable. So I don't have to go into my masculine 24/7. Like I already have to make a million decisions as someone who is like hyper dependent as is. So for someone that can like be a little bit more soft to, for me and a lot of the women that I know personally when the dating world, they're not asking for like the wealthiest, like tallest, like biggest, most muscly guy. They just kind of want someone who can just provide just somewhere that feels like home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
More
it
of that
sounds to me a
energy.
provider
Yeah.
is not necessarily, it's more of an energy, not specifically
Not
financial or
items,
whatever.
not financial.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
But is there more that you want then? Because, 50 years ago, that's all women really wanted because, women weren't working that much that they, I guess my point is right now, women are in a more independent state of mind than ever.
Yeah.
Because they're more financially stable. I mean, I think I read something, the good news is they're 82%, 82
and, like, we're in
cents
the
the dollar.
workforce, but
right?
like the wage gap is still so astronomically different.
Fortunately, the
so
wage
it's
gap
like,
is closing, but unfortunately, the wage gap is still there. That's what we're saying,
very much
right?
so, yeah.
So there's a good and bad there, but women are getting more independent. So I think, at least from my conversation with different women, is they're seeing not as much necessity to have a man around to provide and protect, right? And so now they're diving into things, and which is why I'm hearing more and more often they want someone more emotionally available, more emotionally stable, whereas maybe 50 years, 100 years back, that wasn't as big of a priority to them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think since women are in the workforce now and we are able to make more of a life to ourselves versus even like 15, 20 years before, that we just kind of want a partner in crime, essentially. We don't want them to be like the full sole provider. And that comes with a whole different conversation of, women not having anything for themselves in case anything were to go wrong. But that's a whole different tangent that I will save for another time. But
Oh, we'll let you cook if you want
oh
to.
my God,
We'll let you cook if you
I'm
want
gonna
to.
go in a whole. Yeah, I'm not gonna dissect that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I just think that masculinity in a relationship of just wanting someone to be an equal. You don't have to be more. You don't have to provide more per se, but just kind of be an equal.
Would you be okay with the partner who doesn't have a job, staying home, but emotionally support you every day when you come home?
Doesn't have a job?
Doesn't have a job.
No.
Yeah, see, I could have
Like-
answered that for you there, but
That's what I'm just talking about.
mean,
So
like-
there is a spectrum, right? That you still need to. Let's say he
I
makes.
think I don't want to be like a stay-at-home mom like forever. You know what I mean? Like I would still want to be something for myself because I know I would just kind of like go like mentally like kind of crazy having nothing for me.
Because right now you don't have a family, right?
No.
But if you have a family and then the man
I
doesn't
went
have a
through
job,
this, so I've always been a career person.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest decisions that I had to make when I had my first daughter was, okay, the career options for me are enough to where we can afford full-time childcare for her. And then there's nothing left. I'm just going to work to literally provide childcare. And I grew up in a house where my mother worked full time. She was a doctor. So she's on call 3-4 nights a week. I had nannies raising me. My father was an alcoholic and just not really present. So I was raised by somebody else. I've had that experience. And it didn't turn out well. I was abused every which way from Sunday by these nannies. And that's another rabbit hole. But so going into like motherhood myself, I was like, okay, my mom made enough money where she's bringing in almost $1 million a year in like the heyday of the 90s. So it made sense for her to have a nanny and continue working. Whereas for me, being at that break-even point where the cost of childcare ends up basically being the same as what I'm bringing home, I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. So collectively, we agreed that I would stay at home and raise the kids until they were old enough to go to school. And I continued still getting a master's degree and doing little side hustles and things like that. But that was very difficult for me because now the story is that I was a burden financially and that I did not contribute anything. And that's a really hard narrative to hear because I will tell you, whether it's the dad or the mom that stays at home, it is hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, having to be like married to a breast pump and a sleeping, pooping, eating baby 24/7. And there's this loneliness, there's all kinds of like postpartum and all kinds of other fun stuff you get into. But there really needs to be like a better sense of a partnership. Like you said, partner in crime. And I think that's really the perfect description. Because when we look at like child rearing, everyone's situation is different, whether you decide to nanny up and both people go back to work or one person stays home because the other's making more money and the cost of childcare and all of those things make a difference. In this day and age, God knows, I'm like, how did we do it?
Yeah.
I don't know how parents today are doing it. The cost of having a kid is just so insane.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can barely afford to live as it is.
Yeah.
But we need to have a better balance of the two roles. And I don't know that there's necessarily like the guy does this and the girl does this. It's just figure out what works and be supportive of one another in those roles.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
So it sounds to me you both agree that I think it's definitely more about a partnership and communication rather than like who plays whatever gender role it is, right?
Like a 50-50
You just step up for each other. I mean, when you're in a relationship, if you sit there going, we split everything 50-50, it's like such a binary way of thinking about things as opposed to, guess what? Someone's going to be down and you've got to be the strong one at that point and vice versa.
Yeah, the way I see it is like it's a bottle, right? It's always like if we're trying to always fill up to like 80 to 100, like one of us is going to have to fill up. Sometimes I might have 2. I need that 98, right? And sometimes you might have 1 or like 50. I need to fill in the 50, But for me, I think we're all in agreement when it comes to like the partnership and healthy. One thing you didn't mention, I want to hear your perspective from. I think, quote me, I want to make sure you said it correctly. You said women face more danger in general than men. What are your thoughts around that?
We do, but I think I come from a very different perspective on that only because of my experience. I was married to someone who beat me, and I think that it really changes your perception of things as a woman. I learned self-defense, I learned martial arts, and I learned how to do like stage fighting as a result because I needed to learn to defend myself. He was in the military. He told me he could hurt me without leaving a mark. And when home is your safe haven and that is the most dangerous place for you and you have no one to call and no one to talk to, you kind of learn to just defend yourself. And so I think I get off a much stronger masculine energy on the outside in that regard. And then I'm very ultra sensitive inside just as a result of, look, I grew up in an abusive home with the nannies. So again, home has never been like a very safe place for me. And I've had to learn how to kind of maneuver myself into situations to feel safe. So I get where your perspective comes from completely, but just my own experience and my perspective, given my experiences and what I dealt with, it takes me to a whole different, level than I think some women. I imagine other women who have been in abusive situations, have dealt with similar thought processes. Yeah.
For me, the way I see it is that women have to deal with dangers that men wouldn't be able to experience.
Or like men don't think about.
Or don't think about.
Yeah. We don't have to.
Because like me walking down the street, like during COVID, right? Me walking down the street, sure. Do I get random racial slurs shout out? Sure. But like nobody was gonna have balls to come up to me and beat me up. But if you were some Asian woman, there's like poor Asian women just walking around and got killed, just because you're right. But it's interesting because we were having very similar conversations sometime, and then somebody said exactly that, women face a lot more danger, and then this other woman actually said like, well, the men actually have to take on all these, right, like the most dangerous jobs and then like go into war and all that stuff. Like, what are your perspective around that when it comes to like, I guess that those are like the typical masculine.
Let's be honest, you guys have a different level of strength. Like, biologically speaking, you guys are built differently than us. It's why the whole like a man who becomes a woman playing in women's sports, like, come on.
Yeah.
You biologically.
That's just a man beating a shit.
That doesn't make sense to me either.
Like, women can't compete in men's sports for that reason because, again, biologically, you guys are different. Like, my fastest 100-meter time is a slow time for a guy, and I was extremely fast. So you put that in perspective. There's men and women's sports for a reason. That's not to say that women can't stand up and some of them be equal, if not better than men in certain areas. I could totally see that.
One of my friends who was a female comic, right? Met her a couple times. We follow each other on Instagram. And she's just always getting freaking roasted, right? On her Instagram, right? Like for her looks, for her comedy or whatever, all that stuff, right? And I put it like publicly. I'm like, dude, I've known her not that long. I've shared some stages on. But basically this guy was just like trashing her. Like one of the like is that Red Pill?
Yeah, they're
one
called
of those
Red
like guys
Pills,
like basically like women haters.
Like the super conservatives,
like
Red
the
Pills.
super insane people out there was trashing her and then made a video about it and she went viral and she's actually getting a lot of tractions, like literal followers and stuff, but they're all just hating on her. So anyway, I just commented defending. I was like, oh, you know, well, you're doing something right if the haters are coming, right? And that dude, like, I was getting fucking attacked.
Oh god,
they were just like,
oh, you're
they were just like,
white-knighting.
yeah, they were just like,
did you
hey, she's not gonna fuck you anyway, little bro, or like,
did you get someone call you a white knight?
No, somebody say like, you call yourself a friend, like, have you seen her videos? Like you think she's funny? Like you should figure out how comedy works. And then some person was like, what do you think about, like, just start getting racist and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, like, really? Like, stuff like that. I don't think, I mean, I've gotten enough of like online, you know, cyber, whatever people call it, cyberbullying, or just honestly, just
the trolls,
you know. For me, it's like I've gotten enough. I've
Keyboard
understand like
warriors.
Everyone
they're
becomes
just
a keyboard
trolls, right?
warrior.
I'm like, dude, if you come sit down, let's just have a conversation. You want to roast me? Go ahead, bro. I'll invite you over to fucking roast me, right? All you want, but don't sit there and hide there. But my point is, like, I think women in general face, even the online world, face a lot more than
well, in
men.
the career world too, is like you can't be
I was
good
just gonna
looking.
say that.
If you're good looking, you can't be intelligent. You can't be funny. You have to just be like.
Well,
this
we walk
ditzy-
into a meeting and you have to wonder if like I was pitching movies at one point and I had to sit there and wonder, like, do they actually want to do a deal with me or are they just trying to fuck me?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a little bit of both where they do the slow burn tactic of
Sheesh.
act as though they're going to do a deal just to get in my pants
Just to
down
hit
the
on you,
road?
yeah.
They
Like-
always want to fuck me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you
and me both,
understand,
honey.
Tony.
We know
You get
about
it.
We both struggle.
He gets it.
We both struggle with that
It's
all
a
the
rough
fucking
life
time.
out there. No.
No, nobody wants to, but
But I mean, that's a real thing. Like when you look at career stuff, you know,
yeah. Well,
and not to say it doesn't happen with guys.
on the opposite end, though, like, don't you think that can be an advantage to utilize? The way
tell
I
people
see it.
I open doors,
Yeah.
but I need help closing them because closing the deal again is usually there's some sort of sexual undertone
Yeah.
that goes with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, very much so.
Like
I
the
mean,
whole,
I've
like, talk about, like,
experienced
sex
it.
Close the
sells.
deal.
Yeah.
Kind
Other
of
than
a-
that, there's no other value that a woman holds in the grand scheme of things. So
I'm sorry. One more time. I was distracted with a joke.
It's awesome.
You were saying, go ahead. You were saying sex sells. And,
Yeah, like a woman's like value is just in a lot of the physicalities of things, whereas like you have to worry about what their ulterior motives are. Like, do they just want to sleep with me? Do they want to ask me on a date? And men don't really have to worry about that at all. So just
Well, they do, but I don't think it's as heavy as it is with women. Well, I mean, look, there's men are gay too
right.
in
Well,
Hollywood.
I
I've
think-
heard about a lot of men getting Me Too'd in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's very much a
What
thing.
it is
but
I think men are more aesthetically motivated than women are. I mean, is that
Yes.
that true? If I say that,
I think that's
could both of
that's
you
fair.
agree with that, or?
Aesthetically motivated.
Like, men are more aesthetically motivated than women are, right? Like, men are more just like lizard brain, like, oh, boobs, butt. Like, I want to talk to her. As
Right.
women are like, I want to see what his like thought process is, what his personality is like.
What's his
Yeah.
energy? Does he communicate well?
Yeah.
I mean, is that your take, or I mean, if you want to argue with me, I mean, not argue, but just
I was
disagree.
thinking
That's
tying it back
fine.
to the whole like dangers of just like masculinity,
Okay.
femininity, like in this
Yeah.
world that we're living in, and like so. just the dangers of just like women that men don't have to think about, and men don't have to deal with it like on a day-to-day basis in their jobs and their normal life. They don't have to worry about like, you know, putting their keys between their fingers when they walk from like a bar to their car, or like getting roofied. I know like gay men definitely have to, and like that's a whole different topic.
So
but like
it was
straight
funny.
heterosexual
It's
man.
a funny joke someone told me. Well, not a joke. It might even be like valid reasoning here. But like my friends are like, hey, if you want to feel like a woman has to go through like every time they go to a bar or club, just go to a gay club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get
that's
hit all
true.
the time.
Totally.
That's a
I
good
enjoy
point.
it actually. I get free drinks all the time. I get free drinks from
but
gay
you don't know,
people.
like, because it's a whole different experience, right? Like, you don't know why this man is talking to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, and then why is he following me, right? So you trying to get something out of me, like, right? So,
and I mean that goes into the whole like, it's not really related, but like to me, I feel like, oh, I make it very clear. Oh, hey, I'm not gay, but I'm down to have great conversations, get free drinks, you know, whatever. If you want to buy me drinks, cool. You know, that's what it feels like to be a woman.
But then,
Just free shit everywhere. No, I'm just kidding.
no, but then when you say that, what you're going to learn, and this is what we women deal with, the moment you're like, but I'm down to have a conversation, then they're like, it's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there is a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
So that's what I was about to go into, though. But then, like,
You're inviting it.
At some point, I have to figure out, and that's exactly, I'm assuming, what women have to go through. Is like, here and there, you still have to like check in on like your motives, you know?
What's he trying to do?
well, I mean, it's all about intention and just like genuine, like how genuine you come across, right?
Yeah.
I've had several instances where I've legitimately just wanted to talk to a girl, like, hey, let's grab some coffee, have a conversation. It sounds like we have a great time just talking, and I just legitimately just open up. It's like, just for context, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not looking for anything casual.
Yeah.
I just want to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And
But
That's a rare trait.
That's a very
because it
suspicious
gets-
thing for a woman to hear from a
look,
man, though.
I've learned that it gets rid of so much headache, man.
Yeah.
It gets rid of so much like work and cleanup you have to do if you don't lay that right out in the front.
Yeah, but then when you say that, they actually want to fuck you, though. They're like, wow, the man.
No, you're right. You're right. We're like, wow, he's genuine. He's not trying to get on my
It's like,
hand.
oh,
Okay.
hold on, did we pick up on something here, Tony?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, but yeah. So that's the whole intent, like intent and genuality that you have to come across, because it just sucks that like as soon as a guy talks to a girl, like you're automatically like the girl just has their defense mechanisms up, right? Even if you want to come from a genuine place, just to get to know them as a friend.
It definitely. I'm pretty much the same like that. I would tell them up front. I mean, now it's easier because like I have a girlfriend, you know. Like I was like, I have a girlfriend, you know, and then like, and I'm sure there are assholes who are like, I have a girlfriend, and then like still, right, try to go under. That reminds me of the skit that these girls are like, anytime a guy come up to them, they're like, I have a boyfriend. Have you seen that?
Well, no, there's a
care.
truth in that. I've got friends who are like, I like to wear a wedding ring when I go out because I get hit on more.
Oh,
Because I'm
geesh.
safe.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, from your perspective, if a man is already in a committed relationship and let's say the same thing, right? Hey, you just want to be friends. Like, do you feel more trust in this person because he's already in a relationship, or it's the same shit to you? Does that make sense? Versus like a guy who
it's the
doesn't.
same
I have something to say
I was
after
like,
Jessica.
Right?
is a very
that's
loaded
really
question.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of married guys looking for a side piece.
Yeah.
A lot of dudes in relationships who just need an extra catalyst or a bump
So
to get out.
interesting.
You never know. Nothing's
Go
safe.
ahead. You look like you're chomping at the bit to say something.
Yeah.
It's, whether they're married in a relationship, I have more respect if they even say, oh, by the way, I have a girlfriend, because then usually you figure out later on that they have a girlfriend or something that they're hiding. But yeah, no, I don't really.
Doesn't make a difference. You still
no, so
feel the same amount.
You wouldn't necessarily approach or make a move, but do you find them more attractive?
No.
Okay. I've actually heard women say that. I mean, the woman I have talked to said they find men in relationships more attractive because they've already been pre-screened. Like they've already been like, there's nothing like, there's no. I mean, if they know the woman, right? Like the woman's like pretty sound mind and like a cool person. Like that man has already been pre-screened. Like there's no like major problems with him.
That is some weird ass logic.
Yeah, it's like
weird,
I've
yeah.
heard. That's what I've been hearing. Like that's why some women that I talk to is like, oh, I find men in relationships more attractive that way. And it's like interesting.
Well, from my perspective, it's
Haven't heard
definitely
that.
like when you're for me, it's like when you're already in a relationship, committed relationship, you probably care less. Like you're not out there seeking, right? As a man, right? I'm not. As I'm already in a relationship, I'm not out there seeking
It
for.
goes back to that energy
and then,
that
and
you're
then
going
it
for.
just
Like
there's
the-
no longer
yeah.
that like a chaser energy, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like I start
You're
noticing like when
attracting
I'm in a
everything.
relationship, where did all these women come from? You know, like,
Right.
where did you come from when I was
you've got that
interested in you
confident
like 2
energy,
years ago? I think
and that
that's
you're putting out there
probably-
where you're like, you're not in that desperate situation.
Yeah.
You're not chasing. You're not the wanting.
Yeah.
Now you're just content.
yeah.
And they're like, ooh. And we are all energetically attracted to one another. That's that
Yeah.
kind of subconscious connection that we've got. And when you think about that, I mean, we are more attracted to that kind of confidence, to that.
Yeah.
There's a comfort in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it is fucked up if like a woman is like, oh yeah, I want this piece of me because
Yeah, I
because
wouldn't be attracted to her for
horrible.
that
Yeah.
reason, but
yeah, but that's
Ew.
definitely fucked up. Yeah, like and it's the same thing, I guess. Like when it comes to just the male and female dynamic, we're just talking about when you are just more confident, calm, and less like seeking. We were talking about simp last night.
Yeah, the
you know,
simps,
like
yeah.
simping, right?
what the hell is simping? I feel old now.
Oh, should we? Oh,
Yes.
is that a?
Please
Yes,
educate me.
that's the topic. But first, let me check on the cameras. Commercial break, everybody. Still going.
We're
From
gonna
our
discuss
non-existent
simping.
sponsors yet.
Water break.
From our non-existent sponsors. We'll be aware of everybody's time too.
Yeah, I've got to get going
You
in
gotta
about
get going.
15.
Wrap
So.
up 15
Okay.
minutes. So, should we dive into simp real quick and
We'll touch up on simp, and then I want to touch up on something to end.
then
but
wrap
yeah.
up- wrap the meat. in
Yeah,
15
wrap the
minutes.
meat.
Just because I'm a dumb shit here.
No,
Not
you're good.
even.
You gotta do that.
I don't know what simping is.
Okay, so
well-
how about we get into Jessica's
That's
take on
Jessica.
simp?
What is a simp?
Okay, I might not be up to date on the latest definition, but from what I know, a simp is just a guy that shows that he really cares for a girl, like goes above and beyond.
Isn't
and,
that what
like-
you want though?
Yeah, but I don't call him a simp, but like
That sounds great.
I don't know how to explain this.
A man. So a man.
Yeah.
If a man is emotionally available. And
He's like, I hear like a simp's like, oh, you're a little bitch. Like, you do everything that she says. Like, oh, I want you home by this time, or like do this and do that. And like he goes above and beyond.
Oh,
Like, gets her
okay. No,
flowers
that's
every
annoying.
day, and like, yeah,
Okay.
I've heard that he
Gotcha.
does the most. Goes
Got it.
overboard versus like the just casual boyfriend who's like, oh, I'll be home whenever I want to.
Gotcha. Vienna, you said that's annoying. You said like when a man. So it sounds to me when a man is just doing whatever a woman says, that's annoying to you.
What does he have? Like no self-awareness
Self-respect.
or like
Self-respect.
self-respect? Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Jeez, do you? I'll do me, and let's
Yeah.
just have some mutual respect and boundaries around one another.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, look, that's just me. There's
Yeah.
women that do like that whole
Yep.
dynamic of tell the man what to do, and he's okay, honey. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Screw that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm done hearing that.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I
Yeah,
do.
let's get into your-
happy in a relationship. Happy girlfriend definitely makes it happy. It's the same thing, right? Happy man, happy woman makes a happy relationship, but it doesn't need to be, like
So one-sided.
So one-sided either way. You
The
know what I mean? Like
balance.
it's always about the balance, the partner in crime, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
to fill up the tank, right?
If you're
what's
if you're
the
sitting
official-
there giving orders,
No,
Yeah.
without
I mean-
getting into the official term, because that's, I mean, everyone can,
Look it up.
Look
What
it
a
up.
simp
But
is.
like, I think my take on simp is just a man who pours, or a woman, I guess. Simp doesn't have to be a man or just
Yeah.
a man, but just someone who pours so much time and attention into someone without getting that reciprocated back,
Oh,
right?
well,
So
that's why I
it's
was a
a
screw up earlier in my life. I was a simp.
it's
Yeah.
just that sense of reciprocity.
Yeah.
I learned how to say that word.
yeah, reciprocity.
Reciprocity, right? So, like, I guess the perfect eventual simp is like all those OnlyFans guys, like all those old guys like following the girls on the OnlyFans, right? That's the only reason OnlyFans can work, right? Because all those guys just willing to part with their money and attention to get these girls, right? I think
I think it goes more deeply than just parting with money for girls with OnlyFans.
Yeah, it
well,
definitely.
it's the part of it. I feel like.
well,
But
that's
it's
the part
just-
that we can see. I think
It's just, I guess, simps are just very easy to manipulate, right? It's very
Yeah.
easy to take advantage of them, to exploit
Yeah.
them, because they're seeking that
Okay.
validation.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, as soon as the girl gives me like a little snippet, right? Like, and then they just jump right on board.
Sounds
It's
like they're
like,
very lonely.
Yeah.
And they crave like connection of any form, whether
Level
it's
of
falsified.
desperation.
Yeah. There's
regardless of their
definitely-
own self-respect or their own well-being.
Yeah, there's definitely a different level and spectrum of like
Yeah.
when I was in the 20s, there were definitely moments where I like looking back where like, oh, I've fallen whatever head over a heel for a woman, and I started having simpy behaviors, right? What I was talking about earlier, where it's like, wow, whatever it is they need, like, oh, you got whatever, like, you're feeling a little sick, fucking make some soup, fucking deliver, right? To some women in a relationship, that's sweet. But when you're in that phase, simpy, or like, I would just basically put them on such a high pedestal that
you're talking about someone you're not going out with, just someone that
somebody I'm just starting to,
okay.
just starting to like time. Even just starting to date, right? But yeah, I mean, I think nowadays is simp will be like, somebody. For example, somebody would think that I'm a quote unquote simp because I'm supporting my friend on making the comment, right? I'm supporting my friend. They think like, oh, I'm simping her because I'm trying to get her attention by saying something nice.
Okay.
That's what a simp people. So
sense.
anytime you compliment a woman, right? Let's say if I'm just coming, hey, I think you're beautiful, right? Some dude could come here and be like, you're fucking simping because you're trying to get something out of her and it's not being. I'm like, no, I'm just making a fucking compliment. You're
just making a genuine compliment.
You're just making that's where the line really gets blurred because like we're not even allowed to have genuine, right? Like,
so then what is a genuine compliment, right? It's so hard to detect like who's
that
being
is very
genuine,
hard
right?
to detect,
like if someone comes up to you at a bar and says, "Oh, you're very beautiful," like you're already kind of back things like, "Oh, what does he want from me?" Right?
Yeah, that's a really
right. Or someone came up to you is like, I really think
depends on like where I'm at, but yeah, if I'm at a bar, look, if I am at a bar, I am probably dressed to the nines, got the war paint on, got the tits out, ass out. I mean, we're asking for it at that point. So if someone comes up and goes, "You're very beautiful," clearly there's a little bit of a motivation there. I mean,
I think that's what follows after that. Like, "Oh, you're very beautiful," and they just like carry on and like, I mean, like doesn't bother me after. Like, okay, great. But then if they're just like, nice. "Oh, so like, what's your name? Oh, what are you doing here?" Then I'm like, "Oh, God." I'm like, "What are you doing?"
But what if they're genuinely interested in who you are? What's your name?
I'm genuinely not interested in talking to them.
Okay, then what would you do? Like,
I would be like, "Okay, thank you," or just like, "Can you please leave me alone?"
But what if it's somebody that you find them attractive?
Okay. Then that's fine.
Yeah, then she's gonna stick around.
Then you're gonna.
Like I said, I think is this fair to say within like meeting someone, first impression, within the first 5 seconds of meeting them, you will know that if you want to continue a conversation, like, okay, I'll give you an extra 5-10 minutes to see where this goes, or like, no, I'm not interested, like at all. I just want you to move on, right? 5-10 seconds. That's all it takes.
How they say it, and like they're like facial expressions. If they're just like completely sloshed and like just like a drunk mess, you're like, okay, just like leave me alone. But like if they're just have their wits about them and they seem like an interesting person, then we'll talk. But
okay.
Or they have that creepy stare.
How much does
the male gaze?
How much does like how attractive a male is affect that?
Honestly, I feel like their personality outweighs everything. Like, you can have the most attractive person in front of you, but their personality sucks and they're boring and they're stupid. Like, you want nothing to do with them.
I had that in high school.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how gorgeous they are.
Looks are the person to fade in a relationship after a while. And so it's like, you want someone who can keep like a funny banter going with you. You want someone to make you laugh and like you in return, and someone who's kind and respectful. So that will definitely, for me at least, outweigh any physicalities.
Cool.
In the short and long run.
I think that segues best into our last topic. I think we only have time for one more topic, right? Yeah, and I want to talk about. So we're talking about what attracts you in men. So let's go. Let's follow up on that. What are some of the most attractive qualities in a man that you find?
You get in my head, you get me in bed.
Okay. How
does one get into your head? Not for me, asking for a friend. No. You know what I mean? No. Whoa.
Jesus,
well, like let's be more specific, right? Let's be more specific. So, like, as a man that understands you, if a man that understands you
and wants to understand
the intention is really important, right?
Yeah, very much so.
And being able to emotionally,
we have to have similar senses of humor. Yeah. Like, oh, you farted. That's funny. Ha ha. I mean, maybe some people are grossed out by that.
I think everyone finds farting funny, by the way.
I think farting is hilarious. Okay. If we can fart around each other, it's a match made in heaven.
My car locks on the fart, by the way.
I know.
Yeah. It's hilarious. You just go.
Like, oh, shit, the gas chamber.
It's kind of my car right now. But yeah, I don't know. There's a certain energy. You just kind of, I call it the je ne sais quoi. Like, it's difficult to put all these like very specific granular qualities to it. Kind of just, when you talk to someone and there's that energy, like you said, the first 5 to 10 seconds, you just kind of know, like, oh, I'm interested. Okay.
Yeah.
And then over time it builds, and either you decide that you want to work for one another in this relationship and continue, or it's not there. Yeah. And I think as we get older, are able to see more and more of what that is. Like, I I dove in. I have a very unhealthy relationship with men, clearly from my upbringing. And so I dove in for the first guy that acted like he gave a shit about me, married him, and we can all see how that turned out. And then the next time around, I thought I had a little better grasp and still didn't get it right. So, I think that there's a lot of like influence that are external, and then the knowing, okay, this seems good, but also you have to be able to step back and ask the question, is what I perceive as good actually good? Okay. Because twice I've had 2 marriages that I perceived as good at first and they turned out not good.
Yeah.
And that's has everything to do with like a lot of the external influences I've had in my life, or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
And there's experiences, and I didn't have a ton of dating experience. I got married at 21, for crying out loud. I was a drunk college idiot, and I jumped into being a stepmom. Holy cow.
Not enough je ne sais quoi. Then.
Right.
Yeah.
So my version of je ne sais quoi there was like, oh, but he loves me. Even if he hits me.
Yeah. Oy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that's, this time around with my current relationship, there has been just that really cool, like, energy and just constant, having the conversations and being raw, open, honest, and just purely genuine with one another, loving each other on our darkest days, and then, being able to actually have a good conversation around when we have conflict, because that happens in every relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. And Jessica?
The question is what we find attractive in men.
What are your like top qualities in men that you find attractive?
I guess personality-wise, that they're funny. It's really important to laugh together. That they take initiative, that they are ambitious in some kind of avenue in their life, and have a lot of respect. They don't treat, the janitor differently than they would treat a CEO, and just overall morally a good person. So
they have to like tacos.
They have to like tacos.
Like food, be adventurous.
Cool. Now let's flip that around. What do you think women should do better? Because we're meeting in the middle, right? Because that's how men will get better, right? But now we're meeting in the middle. Yeah. What do you think women in this generation could do better to meet in the middle?
I think we're perfect, so.
I honestly think that we could take a lot more responsibility for our own behaviors in a relationship. Like my last marriage, I can run around and scream, he was a covert narcissist and he did all these emotionally abusive things to me. He did. But let's be fair. I was toxic as hell with him too. Okay, it takes 2 to tango. And he didn't end up being this toxic asshole because he just is that as a person. I helped to create that situation, and I've had to learn to take ownership of those behaviors coming out of that, and recognize that, hey, I have responsibility in making him feel a certain way, even if it wasn't my intention. My intention was totally different. He didn't perceive it right. And honestly, we just weren't meant to be together. And so you get these toxic behaviors that just kind of spiral out of control. He was an asshole to me. He dismissed my emotions. Now I'm giving him the silent treatment, and I'm not going to talk to him. I'm going to go talk and cackle to my girlfriend at lunch and vent to her about how pissed off I am about his behavior. And then I come home and it just gets worse and it gets worse. And I think I'm doing these things the right way, and I think I'm trying to earn his love, and he's not giving it to me, and we just spiral out of control.
Yeah.
And that's the carrot being shaved.
Tony, you have a great quote that you have a quote that you have that I really like. It's like, when you do this, always do this, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
when you're pointing a finger, always point something back at yourself.
There's at least 3 fingers point at me, like anytime before I criticize somebody else, I literally do like a thing, and I remind myself that, like, oh, okay, there's 3 fingers at me. What can I take responsibility or accountability for,
That's awesome.
And I think that's like a really simple gesture. If everybody, every time we just point at, or same thing with victimizing, when you're like trying to victimize yourself, dude, like 100%. What can you do? Like, there's usually a lot of shit that you can do.
I have victimized myself. We all have. But
exactly.
Understand what created that situation for you to become the victim in your perception in the first place.
That's a whole different topic that I actually can dive into, but we don't have time. Next time, episode 3.
But yeah, we love that. So real quick, I can already see the comment section. Protect Viena at all costs.
And I'm not even saying to communicate your expectations. Drop them all together. That's something I've learned with my current relationship is cut the bullshit, man. Stop trying to have expectations. Just appreciate what you've got. And either they give you what you need in what their own way is of doing that, just like you give in the way that you feel is best.
Yeah.
So if you have these expectations, you're always going to suffer and be disappointed.
Yeah.
Stop thinking you can change the guy because
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one thing that you
Yeah,
stop.
stop till you can change a
Yeah.
person.
A
right?
person in general,
Yeah, this
yeah.
Yeah, don't be
really,
married to a
Stop changing.
project.
Yeah.
Just like what you got.
Yeah.
I mean, like they might evolve in their own ways, right? They might evolve in their own ways, just like how we should all
Yes.
evolve in our own way. And that's the whole thing with the relationship. It's like, okay, right? Like we're just constantly growing and learning from each other. I did a post recently called the secret to a happy relationship is to know that your girlfriend already apologized to you in her head. If you didn't hear it, that's your damn fucking problem.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's just a joke. Tagging off.
That's great.
yeah.
It's your own damn fucking problem. You didn't hear that. Yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
No, I just want to springboard off of
Yeah.
what was said earlier. Like I think Viena said that it
wrap-
kind of spirals down. We'll wrap it up. Just
Yep.
I think you kind of manifest in yourself like your own like issues, right? So like for example, if you are a person that plays games, right, you are going to date or find someone that plays games, right?
Yes.
So that's why I think it's very important. That's like just be who you want to date, right?
Yeah, you attract what you are.
You will manifest the perfect person if you try to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to wrap the meet up.
Are we wrapping the meet now?
Those are great
Is it
words.
really
I'd say,
wrapped?
yeah.
I think we're talking about masculinity, relationship, parenting. We got some really great insights from the ladies today, and and I think in all, there's some small disagreements here and there, which is great. That's the whole point of this, it's to have conversations
Keeps things interesting.
and
Yeah.
keep things. And honestly, it's just being able to actually have conversations, not
Right.
just like, hey, you said that 1% thing, I disagree with you. Go fuck yourself,
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of the camp.
Like if
you
you're
know?
not 100% with me,
Yeah, yeah.
you're 100%
We all agree to
against
be
me.
so
Yeah, exactly.
boring.
And I'm like, no, dude. Like, I might just have one thing. It's like, and yeah, absolutely. When it comes to relationship dynamics, I think it just comes down to, Andy says it perfectly, right? Like, just sort of be the best version of yourself, and the right person, if it's doing the same thing, it's gonna
Yeah.
come to that, and that's the most, I guess, tying to the masculinity thing.
That is, that's my motto in life right now.
Yeah, motto in life. So, any questions or any additional thoughts, ladies want to share?
Just thank you for having us on this
Yeah.
podcast today. It was really, fun. It was a good time. And I think it's really important to have a shared safe space where we can hear different opinions, different thoughts and views on the world. And I feel like social media has created such a polarity
Oh,
in
yeah.
people. So thank you so much for everything. And it's a good time.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think we'll just give our guests one last chance to introduce themselves and
Yep.
tell where they can find more information about
Yep.
you.
Yeah, I'm Viena Hayden. You can find me at Viena, Hayden, Viena like the city or the sausage. So Viena Hayden is my handle. I've got all my websites up on Instagram as well, fifthfrequencyagency.com, leadbpro.com, localbusinesshive.com. Got a couple things going on, so connect with me. I love chatting.
Vienna is a great entrepreneur and also a fantastic actress. We did
Oh, yeah,
some
that part. We
fun
like to
little
be funny
project
together.
together. Here's the video. Here's the snippet. Click on the link.
Yes.
Right there. It's right there. You can click on it. Okay, Jessica.
And I'm Jessica Lee. You can find me. My Instagram handle is Yessree, Yessree. And that's that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I have never
you.
taken her pole dancing class yet.
No, you need to.
We should go.
We should.
We should
all
It's very
Yeah.
masculine.
I
to-
know.
To
that
just
is-
dance,
I think-
right?
Dude,
we actually
I
don't
mean,
allow straight men there, so.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Oh.
You don't allow straight men there?
Oh, because they're gonna be.
No.
Damn,
they're
isn't that
afraid of
Because the
people.
dangers that women face. It's just
What's the
not-
exclusion? We feel
But
so
how
excluded.
do you know I'm straight though? What's the proof?
you have a girl. You already knew you had a girlfriend. So.
You said girlfriend, I
We
mean.
can clip it. You said you were a cis straight male.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yep.
No, but like, how can you seriously, how can you even prove? Like,
Oh yeah, if someone would
It's,
just
we have
Yeah.
to either take their word for it, and then we can just see their behaviors in class. So
That's true. If they get like a raging boner, you're
yeah,
gonna know real fast.
there's not much you can really
but,
hide
like-
in that aspect.
dude, that's so sad though. What if I just want to take some freaking pole? What if Andy and I want to take pole dancing? Can
You
you
should
make
offer
an
a dude's
exception?
pole dancing class.
Right?
No, I'm serious.
Online, you can do online.
You can do it online. Dang.
That's not as
but
good.
not
though.
in
That's
person.
crazy. That's
have a
crazy.
raging
though.
boner online.
That'd be good internet entertainment right there.
Sorry, I know we're wrapping up, but if what's like an equivalent of a male place that does that? If they're like, straight female only, like that would be fucking ridiculous, though, right?
I don't think I know.
I don't think.
Axe throwing.
No. What?
No, but that's. I mean, I'm just kind of. This is kind of a
Say, like,
random, but
angry
it's
wives
true
would do
though,
that,
right?
though.
Like it's okay to, right?
But
like,
I think it's only ridiculous for the fact that like women get harassed so much. So like men don't ever get harassed really by like
which
straight
I agree with,
women that
right?
often.
Women have
I
to
get it.
Yeah,
but,
I
but
get
still,
it. I understand, but
this
I'm
is the
just thinking
first
it's
time
like,
I've ever heard like no
I've
males
never heard
allowed
that.
in.
That's like
Oh.
no Asians
Well,
allowed.
I know,
you know?
like I know.
First for everything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Tony, we'll start a pole dancing club.
Yeah, we
No
should
women
start. You know,
allowed.
Irene teaches pole dancing, right?
Oh.
She's actually phenomenal.
You can get a pole dancing
dancer.
teacher and start a
Yeah.
men's class.
Yeah.
It
That's
sounds like
Men's
there's
pole
demand.
dancing
Men's.
club.
That's
There you
crazy,
go.
though.
You
I
can be
didn't
part
know.
of the Chippendales.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, I think it's good to have some sort of system, but like seriously, how do you even test that? Like, yeah, what if? Yeah,
We'll dive into that next time.
yeah. I guess that'll be the next episode then.
Pole dancing class.
How do you-
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
episode right there.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, thank
like
you,
it.
ladies, and
Thank you.
that would be all for our Let's Meet in the Middle podcast. That'll be all for the Let's Meet in the Middle podcast. This is episode 2. So much to learn, so much to grow, and we're very excited to hopefully have the ladies back again in the future and with different topics. Leave a comment in the section below. Let us know your thoughts. What was the biggest takeaway from this episode?
Don't forget
And who-
timestamps.
And which one of us is the hottest? I'm talking about male and female combined together. Don't be fucking toxic now.
Hold on. Let me clean up before they decide.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Peace outside.